Good morning, everyone. Wonderful. So, in this class, today Sir will take the class. Just I wanted to interact with you briefly. So, how many of you, those of you who do not know, I'm Ayush Sinha. My name is Ayush. I'm the founder of ForumIAS. So, those of you who are new. So, in this class, I can see some familiar faces. How many of you have written the mains examination in this class? All right. This year mains? Okay, some of you have written. All right, good. And how many of you are complete freshers? Like writing? All right. So as you proceed with these classes, there are a few things that I want to tell you so that you can get the maximum benefit out of it. First, those of you who have appeared for the mains and are taking the classes, that is for them, that you're doing the right thing. Get started with those of you who have written the mains examination. Make sure that you get started with studies as early as possible, no matter how you feel like. That is one. We have always observed that some of our top ranking students, they have been the ones, when I say top ranking, I mean somebody under 20, 30, 40 ranks. They've always been the ones who have been studying throughout. All right. And this month, October, November, December, these are the most crucial months for your preparation. Why do I say these are the most crucial months for your preparation? That is because this is the time when most people who have otherwise been studying very properly will lose track. I repeat, these are the months, at least in Delhi, that in October, November, and December, these are the 3 months where most people who have otherwise been studying very properly, who have been going full throttle with their preparation, that is when they lose track. See, after January, everybody will be studying. After January, everybody will be studying. These are the months where we, for sure, as a coaching, we know that rank holders, top rankers will be coming from the people who are studying in these 3 months. Because the only time that you have an advantage over the average crowd is these 3 months. That is because for mains appeared students, some of them are tired because of the war, after having written the mains. So generally they will settle down and they'll try to have some sort of rest. And with some rest, people get into comfort zone, and that is when things stop working for them. Like they've been doing quite well, they have written a good mains, and then they stop studying, without realizing the fact that they did a good mains because they were studying. And so this is how things go wrong. The other thing is also that what generally happens is, those of you who have written the mains again, and when you get an interview call, if you are not studying in these 3 months, on the day, for some reason, I have always seen that the candidate who has not been studying, he will generally get the interview call in the first week, sometimes the first day itself. And the candidate who has generally been preparing, he will generally get a lot of time to prepare, and he will get an interview call in the second month or the third month. Something like this happens. I don't know how it works, but that is how things work in the civil services arena. So while we cannot change it, I clearly see that every year people who have gotten comfortable are not studying in October, November, because there is a slowdown for mains preparation and there is a pickup for prelims preparation. And between these gear changes, most people get caught. I repeat, between these changes in the gear from the mains to the prelims, most people get caught and waste 3 months. All right. So those of you who have written the mains examination, the biggest challenge that happens is when you get an interview call, and because some of you who are planning to write the Civil Services 2023, you will face this. So know it in advance. Do not complain that nobody warned you about it. All right. When you get an interview call after 3 months, suddenly you realize that you have forgotten everything that you have studied all throughout the year. You have not even read the newspaper, and you are completely blank. Now, the questions that are asked in the interview, they may not always be current affairs based, but the amount of energy it takes for a candidate to cover a backlog of 3 to 4 months, 3 months of October, November, December, plus 1 month of the mains examination, during which newspaper coverage is compromised because mains is the focus, exam is the focus. That energy is so much given to preparing current affairs that they do not prepare anything else, and they pay for it in the interview. Remember that in civil services, you do not always have to work hard on things. but you have to, it's not that you have to give everything time, but you have to give everything focus. I repeat, you do not have to give everything time, but you have to give everything focus. Some things which are very small and less time taking, and they do not require much time commitment from you, but they will require some focus from your side, which means that giving it the necessary 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 5 or 10 hours that is needed for that. It's not that they will take a lot of time of yours, but they will take certain attention or focus of yours. So this also happens. Those of you who have not written the mains and are planning to write for CSE 2023, we do have an early batch. And the reason for this is very clear, because in these 3 months, if you study, you will be somewhere. Somebody who has done 15, 20, 25 classes, which averagely converts to 60 to 70 hours of classroom studying, and we expect at least 50% more of self-study. I repeat, 50 to 60 hours of a classroom with a 50% self-study over and above it does bring a lot of what is called, fills up a lot of knowledge gaps. Most of you, while being a participant in the race for civil services ranks, may only see a few things. But as a mentor, I can tell you that it is very easy, often easy, to predict who will make it and who will not, depending a lot on what they have been doing in the various months. Like there will be brilliant students, our own students, some of them who are brilliant, but they'll be wasting time in these 3 months. And we know that if he was at under 100 rank, ye 700 ke bahar aayega. If he was a 600, 700 rank, he is going to be the interview, but he will not make it to the final list. If he was an interview candidate, then we will have to wait 1 more year for him to go to the interview. What is the reason? Because he has gotten a little comfortable. So those of you who are starting right now, it is a good time to start. Do not, what I say is, do not spread too much and do not talk about your study plans to anyone. Quietly attend classes, go back home, revise, prepare 30, 40 topics that will be done, so that A, you have an understanding of how to prepare a topic. All right, you have an understanding of how to prepare a topic. And secondly, you have good content. The objective in these classes is not only to give you all the content, but also the objective is you develop the aptitude as to how to study a topic, and the analytical level that is to some extent needed for this examination. So whatever is being delivered in the classes, I can assure you that that is way above what is commonly available or what you could do by your own. See, we are humanities students, as far as most of us, as far as general studies is concerned. And in humanities, a major challenge for you as an aspirant will be that you don't know what you don't know. All right. You have attended one class and you'll be attending a second class and a third. I expect that with these classes, you would have significant value addition over and much above what you already knew. It takes a lot of, sometimes years experience and a lot of failures to realize that there are things that you don't know and you are not aware of it. People not taking these classes, there will be a lot of them who will always, because we have a mains guidance program here, and we clearly see, and sometimes sadly so that we see that people are writing extremely generic answers where they have written, they are not aware of a core issue. Just last week, I had a student come up with his copy. Now he had filled all the pages, so if I did not have the experience, I would have been impressed, because at least one thing is settled, that somebody who's written 20 questions and answers, at least he is hardworking. If he's nothing, we can say that he's thoda mehnati to hai. Why? It takes effort to sit and write a 3-hour copy. Out of every 10 students who will join a test series, 7 will not be able to sit for 3 hours, because sitting for the 3 hours will require at least, in my opinion, at least 18 hours of preparation. And while everybody may have been able to commit the fee for the program, not everybody is willing to commit the time for the program. I repeat, because that commitment of the fee has to come from the parents, but the commitment of the time and effort has to come from you. A 3-hour test will at least require an 18-hour preparation. That is at least for anybody who's appeared for the mains, and for a person who's a complete beginner, at least 30 hours of preparation. For every 1 hour of test, at least 5 hours of preparation should go. Right? Now, as a little, if I was an amateur, I would have been impressed. But there was a question, and I hope the student is not sitting in this class, and anyway, I have not. Uh, so there was a question on what is the reason behind the coal shortage, or why are we not? Uh, what is the problem with the coal industry? And he had written 6 or 7 points. The examiner had told him that these are generic points, but he was somehow not convinced. He said that these are brilliant points. Now, one of the problems, not the only problem, but one of the problems in the coal sector is that it has inefficiencies because there is the monopoly of Coal India Limited, which the government is committed to remove. At least this government is saying that we will bring in more players, we will bring in more competition. Things are so bad that about 10 years back, when the UPA government was there, so the government was committed to inviting industrialists that please open factories. So they had a letter of invitation and letter of intent was sent to big industrial houses that please set up industries. That was UPA 2 regime. And UPA 2 put a lot of people in trouble also because of that. So these industrialists, they asked that fine, we will set up a factory, we will set up an industry, we will not import from China. Right now, there is a strict action against China, right? But those were the days when we had started feeling the heat from Chinese imports. Because a decade back, we had not felt the heat. Just 2 decades back, Chinese goods were just cheap and not good. 1 decade back, Chinese goods started being both cheap as well as good. They had started being. That was the beginning of Chinese goods being both cheap as well as good, but just 2 decades back. Like when you were, some of you would be born after 2000, some of you would be late 90s. And so in about the 90s or late 90s and early 2000s, Chinese goods were just cheap. So it used to be said that it is a Chinese material, so kharab ho jayega. But by the last years of the previous decade, that is 2000s, it was very clear to the government that Chinese are not only making things cheaper, but also better. And it was very clear that if you need a good finishing for a product, then you better get a Chinese material. Indians will not have that craftsmanship. So the government invited industries to set up manufacturing plants in the country. Now industrialists asked one question to the government, that fine, will you provide us just one thing? Land we will manage, we will buy from the market. But will you provide us one thing? Labor also we will manage, we will pay whatever is needed. Just provide us one thing, that is assurance of electricity. Things were so bad that the government was very clear, we cannot provide you electricity. What we can provide you instead is captive coal mine. Coal ka mine aapko hum de denge. Aap coal mining karke electricity apna manufacture it yourself, but we cannot get assured. That was the level of problem with electricity generation that we had, because they said, don't ask us. Coal India Limited, they will sign a MOU with you that we will provide you this much. I mean, you will sign a MOU with electricity discoms, and they in turn, thermal power plants, they in turn will sign an MOU with Coal India Limited. But when they will not provide electricity, they will blame it on Coal India, and Coal India will say that we can't simply provide. So we will give you what? Directly we will give you captive coal mine. You do the mining, you boil water, and you know since the times of industrial revolution, how do we produce electricity? We boil water and run a turbine. And even with nuclear power plants, what do? We use heat, and then what do? We boil water and run a turbine. So technically not much evolution has happened since the industrial revolution, since the invention of the steam engine. So that was, and among other issues, as you will discover, and some of you should be aware if you have been reading the newspaper, coal sector will have a monopoly problem. Apart from that, the quality of coal will be a problem. Then ash fly content will be a problem, and therefore we will be dependent on imports. Now the candidate writing copies had written all that there is corruption, there is inefficiency. He had not addressed the major points. Now it is humanities, so nobody is going to cut your answer. You will have only a difference of maybe 2 marks. Those of you who are coming from sciences, and how many of you are from sciences and engineering backgrounds? Okay, good number. So this should enlighten you. See, in maths and sciences, if you are good, you are good. If you are bad, you are bad. In humanities, the topper will get 55, the failure will get 45. The gaps will not be much. So which is why people coming from engineering and science sometimes are not able to measure the gap between them and a good candidate. They will say, sir, uske 75 aaye hain, mere 65 aaye hain, there is no difference. between a top candidate and a bottom candidate. But in maths, it will not be the case. A topper will get 95 plus, and a person who has no clue of maths will get less than 10 marks. है ना? Similarly, those of you, a lot of you would not be wanting to work on content because they come and they say, sir, we have come, we will do answer writing only. Now, please understand a few things. That content has become so crucial. Content, you have seen copy of rank 1 and other rank holders. Content has become so crucial, value addition. I'm talking about getting a rank under 50, under 100, something on those lines. Okay? It has become so crucial, and you see that benchmarks have been changed. The amount of hard work that other people are doing is so high that we all have to work on value addition. I'm talking about Forum as an institute also, that we are very clear that we have to do a lot of value addition so that our students are having that edge. Now, in humanities, a very common problem that is happening is that people are not wanting to work on content, and they are wanting to write answers. It's very difficult. If you have the content, if you have the clay, we can probably teach you how to make the pot. But if you do not have the clay and want us to teach you how to shape a pot, very difficult. फिर हवा में artificial है ना simulation करते रहेंगे, very difficult. And I do not blame you, but those who are coming from science and engineering, I also want to say one thing, that when you ask somebody to appear for the JEE examination, all right? So what will generally happen is that they will see the question paper. And when they see the question paper, they'll usually see something like this. Can you tell me what is this sign? Integration. So before attempting the paper, they will say, I will need to study, sir. Right? They will see dy by dx and they will say, I need to study. And therefore, mostly they will study or start preparation, and after the preparation, they will write the exam. In civil services, that is the problem that we as mentors are facing, and I can extend it generously to the rest of the population as well. But in civil services, an aspirant sees a question paper, and then just because he knows one point in it, he will say, I know the answer. है ना? He will have his eureka moment that it is a very easy question. ये तो 7th class में मैंने पढ़ा है ना? And therefore, most of the times in civil services, a common problem will be that a candidate will first write the exam and then start the preparation. I repeat, mostly because it is humanities, and engineers tend, like the rest of the population, including people from humanities, they tend to underestimate humanities. So therefore, they will first write the exam. एक अटेम्प्ट दे लेंगे, देख लेंगे पेपर, उसके बाद लगेगा कि अच्छा, it has been a difficult ride. After that, the preparation for civil services will start. This does not happen in any other field of science or maths. Only because it is humanities, it is a little underrated. That also contributes because the gap between the topper and the person who's not making it, the gap is also not much. So that is also one of the reasons. The point of telling you this is that please, whatever is being done in this class, please absorb it and internalize it. 3-4 years back, we had a candidate walk in. I like to tell his story. So he sent a message that, sir, I've gotten 152 rank and 122nd rank. And I'm the batchmate of one of your students who has secured first rank. And I am also in IAS IT. So therefore, I want to do answer writing. And because I am messaging you so that you keep a seat reserved for me. So when he came, I told him, so you want to do answer writing alone? He said, yes, sir, that's what my friend, my batchmate from IRS IT has told me. And he said that he focused and he got a lot of attention from Forum, and therefore he got rank 1. Now the point is that if you closely look at his credentials, which is a rank 152 and 122, you clearly know that he definitely knows how to write answers. Otherwise, he would not be getting into this rank. Probably the missing piece is that he may need to work on content which may be antiquated, right? Which may be 3-year-old. And in civil services, in 3 years, things change, unfortunately. So you have to be on the, and that also makes us as a teacher or a mentor, it becomes exciting for us because we have to continuously update. Otherwise, it would be a lot boring to teach or read the same things again and again. Though it is, I would admit that it will be torturous for you that things keep changing so much or new ideas keep coming that you have to continuously update. He said, yes, I made him sit in CA classes. We had worked a lot on the content. It was the early batches. It was the, yes, it was the second batch. The problem was that the candidate, because he had 3 or 4 year old notes, so therefore he would attend the class because I had asked him to, but then when the time came to write the answers, he would write what he knew from before. All right. So we sat down one day and I said that my expectation from you is that you will do the class because I'm telling you to do it, but then you are writing things जो पहले से आता है, which you already know. And that will not help you get a top score. Thankfully, he did work hard. He internalized what was delivered in the classes and ended up with a good 7th rank, all right, from Hyderabad. I want to tell you this also because some of you who are older candidates, by which I do not mean age-wise, but by way of attempts, or who are into the preparation for a long time. This could be, some of you may have started from second year as well. There are people that kind these days who are starting preparation very early. So one thing is there that whatever is being taught to you, sitting and writing it is another thing and internalizing it is another thing. If it is not reflected in your answer, then it is not, and it's not simply going to add value. See, there is, what I believe is, in a class when you attended, 30% of the things that are being delivered in the class, you will hear and you will remember. Because most of the times when students get selected, they are generally awake at night. 11-12 baje tak they will be awake. Why? Unable to believe that their journey has ended and they have gotten a good rank. So they'll just sometimes send a long message, ki, sir, this was taught in the class, this idea I had told in the interview, and I think this worked for me. So they remember a lot of things. So 30% of it is what is being delivered in the class. Another 30% will be what you will write down, and the last 40% will be what you will do by at least reading things 3 to 5 times. So do not ever take things for granted that just because you have heard it, because in humanities, things when you hear it, they will be easy. All right? I repeat, in humanities, when you hear things, they will always be easy and logical. It is not like rotational dynamics, ki sir, fir se samjha dijiye. Sir, please explain once more. That will not happen in humanities. That's the rotational dynamics. Begin from, I did not understand. That will rarely happen. All right, but what will be missing piece of link will be here is that you have not internalized it. And when in the end questions are coming, you are writing what you knew from before. So please make sure that whatever you study at least 3, 5, 7 times. It is a competitive examination. Those of you who are in the college mode, that raat bhar padhai ki and paper subah likh diya, that will not work. You have to give the exam the due respect. All right. So make sure that whatever you study, you internalize it, you go for 3, 4, 5 revisions. I would normally advise from what I've seen from my students is, I would normally advise students to summarize everything, whatever is being taught, and be patient. Do not, what I often say is, overestimate what you can do in one day. Do not overestimate what you can do in one day, and do not underestimate what you can achieve in 3 months. So when you will begin, things will be slow. You will think, isse zyada to main khud se kar lunga. And 3 months later, you will be saying just the opposite, कि sir, बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, इसको कैसे संभालें? ठीक है? That's a common thing. First week, everybody says it is too less, and 3 months later, everybody says it is too much. So make sure that you have the right bite size. Make sure that you know whatever is being given, because these are also lean months, which means that you immediately do not have an examination. So therefore, this is the time when you have to study in stealth mode. Not your neighbor, not your friend, anybody should know that you are attending classes or you're studying. Look like everybody else, but study quietly. I have often seen 2 roommates clearing this exam with both under 20 ranks, and both of them studying quietly, each other not being aware. And sometimes it has happened that both of them, after getting a rank, have come here, and then I have come to know, I knew them, both of them, and for the first time they say, what are you doing here? Acha, you also were studying here, I did not know. Itna chup kar log padhai karte hain. ठीक है? Every year I will see the bright candidates will be the ones who will keep quiet and just do the hard work. So do that. Lastly, winter is coming. है ना? So make sure that days will be shorter, nights will be darker and long. The nights will be dark and long. So make sure a lot of thermoregulatory changes will be required by your body. Do not sleep away these months. है ना? Wake me up when February comes, that should not be the case, है ना? If you need a room heater, whatever you need, invest in those things. Some people pay a bigger price for not making the right investments. They think कि 3 महीने सो जाएंगे, heater क्यों खरीदें? Don't do those things. Don't try to save your parents' money that way. If you have a doubt, मेरी बात करा देना parents से, ठीक है? Do not do those things. Do not have misplaced priorities. I see young people, they will invest a lot in things that they don't need and will not invest in things that they really need. They will get a very good phone, but will not get a room heater, which they may need in Delhi winters. Whatever hampers your productivity or whatever can improve your productivity, invest in those things. Do not make those compromises. There can be nothing that is so expensive that you need to probably hibernate for 3 months and not give your best. If you plan to study at 4 a.m. in the morning, the winter cold should not be the reason why you can't do that. Man has conquered nature. Our forefathers have conquered nature a few thousand years ago. Right? So your conquest, it should not be that you're going by your primal instincts, saying it's too cold to wake up at 4 or too cold to study at 11. That much control over nature we have. We are paying the price for it, not saying anything like that. But yes, make sure that you have all the things that are needed, all the material things that are needed to pursue your studies, and also the mental peace that is needed to pursue your studies well. All right, so sir will begin with the classes. All right, have a good time.